Hey everyone, yo, welcome.
Dude, I had this thing in my head, but the song already came in. Wait. This time, don't have the song come on until after this, because I was like, "It's time for Murder Moose. It's time for Murder Moose."
We could. I mean, I can do that. It's here. We do this as the intro.
What episode was it that we came up with the sound? Because if you can find that episode, I want to put like. It's time for Murder Moose. It's time for Murder Moose. Grab your popcorn. Everybody. It's time for Murder Moose. And then the sound that we made for the moose. They're like,
so I think that was three or in the last, it was this month. So it was like 3 or 4 episodes ago. And I think because I think it was the episode before the one we did with the So Horrified folks. So that's probably when it was, the episode before that. So we can check that out. Okay, then we'll put this before the song, and then we'll go into it. And so,
what? Huh? What's going on?
Just don't talk for a second.
Huh? What? What's going on? What are you doing?
I'm giving myself an audio. I was giving myself an audio break. So here now. Okay, don't talk for a second. So then I'll cut it and then put. Cause it's time to do over now. It's time for Murder Moose. Okay. Now we're here live for Murder Moose. Now we have 2 intros because Josh's ADHD is hyper-focused / all over the place today, and it is what it is. So if this is a crazy Murder Moose intro, that's why. I mean, all of our intros are crazy. We are part of the Slashing Cast podcast network. I am Rod, and this is Josh. How you doing today, buddy?
Oh, hey. Feeling good, man. Feeling good. Like,
good.
Seriously, the positivity vibes. I don't know if it's, like, reverberating or something, but, like, it's like I'm feeling positive. Positive shit's coming back, and it's good. And like I'm getting really stupid close to launching my site, which I talk about every episode. But I'm actually feeling more confident and getting really, really close. And you just saw the trailers, and I'm happy with how they turned out.
They are definitely awesome. Josh has been working on his stream package thing for streamers, and Josh has I mean, if you guys have seen our Twitter, Josh has been tagging us and putting we've been talking about movies, and he's been doing alternate posters to the movies. And we were talking about it before the show. Like he did, the last one he did was Anything for Jackson. And that poster was actually significantly better than the one that they had with the movie. And like, that was my biggest issue with the only kind of even semi-negative thing I said about the whole movie was the poster. And then it was Josh and I like talking nothing but good for that movie for the next, an hour plus. And so his website's coming up, and dude, I think it's gonna be awesome. It's like you have a lot of packages and shit that are really cool, and hopefully it'll get you some other work of people coming in wanting, even more specified things, right? Like for that streamer and that tailored streamer. But man, what that setup you have is just awesome for like, especially for like newer streamers, right? Like someone who isn't like, established their brand yet, or hasn't like set up their like graphical style yet. It's a pretty nice intro package and shit. Even someone who's been doing it for a while. I mean, it's
all modular too. Like you can pick and choose what you want with it, and that's why I'm setting it up like that, because I like to customize everything. But that's probably I'm probably more of a unique case because I am a graphic designer, so of course I like to change everything. But I also am setting up all my packages so they can be altered in a lot of different ways. Just add your name to it, and you're good to go.
Yeah. So those will be coming soon, and we'll let it know. We'll talk about it in the podcast when that launches, though. It's awesome work.
Yes. I'm excited.
Josh has been working on it since before we started Murder Moose, so like it's been a long time, and he keeps doing awesome work with it. So you're having a good week. I saw Canada got lots of snow, and so you're like, did you get piled on?
It's weird right now. It's like the really fluffy, light stuff, and it looks like a snow globe outside. It's snowing like really hard, but it has nothing to it. So it's just like there's so much though, but it's just beautiful. It's like not cold, not super windy, so it's just like a weird feathery snow. I don't know. You can't really complain.
Those big snowflakes are like they're really like the worst to drive in. Like if you drive through those, because they're so big and heavy, they reflect the fucking light beams off of your like car at night, especially.
Well, I'm not going anywhere.
Yeah.
We do a shop once a week and then bunker down. Like I forgot rice, so we have the things we have every day. Like I start my day with the muffin and the coffee. And if we run out of those muffins, like when our parents come over, like the grandparents to help out the kids and stuff, they all know that we have these chocolate chip muffins, and they're like, everyone in my family knows about them. They're like, oh, you got the stockpiles? Okay. Like they won't come over if they know we're out, because they always steal all our muffins.
It reminds me of
really
it reminds me of like those hotel like bars like that were like breakfast bars where they're just
concierge,
the concierge and the free thing, or the breakfast, which is just like usually shitty donuts and like
bagels that have been up for like 8 years.
Yeah, they're like
you can't even cut them.
Bagels that you could throw at someone's head and murder them with. You could murder most of them with.
To be honest, man, I've honestly had some of the best prepared eggs at some of those like weird, like in the middle of nowhere at one of those like motel places, and they have like a breakfast like free in the morning, and some of the best prepared eggs like in front of you I've ever had in my life. Like consistently, the guy just loves to make eggs and just knows what he's doing.
So you're talking about going to the Bates Motel and having
hey, whatever, man. He knows how to make a good scramble,
and he knows how to scramble your brains too and murder you. Yeah, dude, I don't live anywhere either, so it's like we've barely gotten snow. We like have a dusting. We have a little tiny bit on the ground right now, but no, dude, it's been a good week.
No snow, no fluffy
not really
stuff.
Man, dude, Colorado gets way less snow than I thought it would when I moved here, which is actually kind of funny. But it's you need to go to the mountains to get tons of it. But
I just see them all the time. They're just right there for Calgary.
Calgary, Junior. I was getting made fun in my stream tonight because I'm playing a game, and like some French word came up and I had no idea what it was, and I tried to read it and they were just all laughing at me. It was like, what's the word for woman in French? Like mercy, like madame. I don't know what the fuck it is, but I was like, I don't speak French. I grew up in Ohio where there are approximately 0 people that speak French, and then I'm in Colorado now. I've never lived in Canada or in France, so here we are. Or in like New Orleans. Like I think there are people that speak French in New Orleans, right? But
yeah, I'm sure there's French people all over the world, man.
I know there are, but I'm talking about people who speak French primarily. That's really what I am. I mean, obviously,
like I would say, like, because in Canada we're bilingual, English, French, but then you cross the border, then it's English, Spanish, right? Is the like 2 big languages in America.
Yeah, depending on where you are, but it's usually Spanish and English here. Not that most Americans know how to speak English, I mean that either. Or
no, they speak Spanish. America.
Yeah,
speak American.
Fuck yeah. Oh, man. Oh, so, Josh, I'm very excited because
I speak Canadian, A.
You say A a lot, and you Timmy's and
you know what?
Double doubles.
I didn't realize. Okay, well, the further south you go as a Canadian, like on vacation, like I don't know, this is a long ass time ago, but like when I go anywhere with my stepdad, he just becomes like weirdly overly Canadian. The isms, like he says A like a little bit when we're in Canada, but then we went to like Florida and it was every third word. Like it was an abundance. It was like he was making sure everyone knew that he was Canadian, eh? And I was like, dude, like, what are you doing? Like, stop, man. Like, you're embarrassing me, man.
Makes me laugh because my buddy Geek Say is a Canadian streamer who streams Tarkov, and Geek Say, so it's Geek A, and it's just like,
Oh, like Nick A30?
It's just like geeks a. It's just Canadian, whatever, and it's like, oh man, you were the most Canadian, but he doesn't even sound Canadian. He does say a sometimes though. Obviously, his name is Geeks A. So, but yeah, so you Canadians.
A.
I mean. Most of it, I feel like most of the things that in America, like word-wise, that distinguish people are very regional, but we're a very regional country, right? So,
man, I just couldn't believe you guys didn't know what ginger beef was. Like, what? Ginger beef?
What the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah, okay. So Chinese food, like North American Chinese food, the like stuff you can get at a mall and stuff.
Yeah.
I didn't realize, but I'm from Calgary, and ginger beef was also created in Calgary, and I didn't know this, right? Growing up with just like North American Chinese food, it was always the staple, especially in every Calgary restaurant, because it was the big one that was created here, and it's so freaking good. Like, it's like any ginger chicken, like I don't know what the equivalent would be, but like, again, in Florida, that same trip that he was saying way too freaking much.
Yeah.
We went to like a shopping mall, and I went to go get Chinese food and asked for ginger beef, and there wasn't any, and that's when you get that like, whoa, I'm from Canada, and I didn't realize, the geography's changed.
I think like I think of it as like, I grew up with like egg foo young, and it was things like cashew chicken, but like now it's like sesame chicken. My wife loves sesame chicken, and it's stuff like sweet and sour chicken, but yeah, it's not ginger. So
I don't know. Ginger beef is just so freaking good, and you guys are really, really missing out. Like it's such a staple here that it literally comes free when you order enough food, because everyone knows you need ginger beef with your order. It's just the staple, right?
You're not talking about the genitals of a redhead, are you?
No.
Ginger beef.
Oh my god. Oh, so good.
Okay.
Man. Now I just want some ginger beef.
You mean the food, right?
Yeah.
Not the other.
What?
The genitals of a redhead. Again, ginger beef. Okay. It was.
Oh, okay.
Okay, Josh.
You always directed in the weirdest directions.
I mean, have you not figured?
This movie does have an entire sex scene with climax, and then like the entire thing. So like, I guess it is kind of the same direction.
I made that scene when it made me laugh, because I was like, this motherfucker is like a 35-year-old priest, which means he's 99% a virgin, and this motherfucker is like fucking for like, he would have like pumped 3 times, and that dude would have been spurting baby powder everywhere, and like it would have been like, not like, this guy is like, he's like lasting what a normal dude would, and it's just like, this dude's a beast for like never having touched a vagina before this very second right now. So
this movie and its entirety like is the whole like a whole relationship.
Yeah. Well, dude. So we are talking about
from start to finish, and it's
the 2009 movie Thirst. It's directed by Chan-Woo Park, who also directed Old Boy, which we're going to do on the show. And I've said before, but like, it's been mostly Josh was like very like, no more foreign for a couple of weeks. We need to do Canadian, but that's foreign. But that's okay, whatever. No, we've been. It is foreign for me.
Hey man, do you listen to Foreigner? They're not foreign.
I'm just giving you shit, Josh.
You're embarrassing me.
You're embarrassing me. So
that's that's going to be the new thing.
There's
stuck on you forever, man. You're embarrassing me, Rod.
I was giving Josh shit when we did the So Horrified episode. Josh's internet was like real bad that day. Like he couldn't hear it, and I'm just like giving. I know.
Too.
I know. I was giving him shit, and I was like, "You're embarrassing me, Josh." Like I wasn't being serious, but now Josh is like, won't let me forget that I said it, even though I was just giving him shit. But it's funny.
No. I like saying you're embarrassing me.
You're embarrassing me. So Josh, we're gonna need you to read the synopsis of this movie for our lovely audience.
Huh? Oh, I'm not even anywhere near.
Well, Josh, okay, then no, Josh, you got to get there, because this is the Josh portion of the podcast. This is when Josh gets all dramatic and sometimes doesn't read words correctly and makes me laugh, because he's either like no, out of it, or
No,
just
I
Josh?
just don't. I can't read, man.
I can't read either,
I
dude.
I stopped reading a long time ago. Okay, let's see if I can read this one. Story. Oh, where is it? It's not even there.
It's at the very top, dude, where it's always on IMDb.
Oh, okay. Through a failed medical experiment, a priest is stricken with vampirism and is forced to abandon his
Ascetic, I think is what the word is.
aesthetic
Ascetic.
ways.
There's no
He doesn't
T at
want
the
to be a
beginning.
priest anymore. He wants to fuck all day as a vampire.
He
This
does.
is Thirst 2009. If Twilight had a ding dong.
So yes, this is Thirst. I was inspired in doing with the whole like our friends on the podcast network. The 2 shows are doing movies all
dude,
month.
I got my favorite vampire movie.
Yes,
right here.
Yes, which I was
and
very
look at the cover. It's even got the ooh, 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 ooh.
very nice. He's got Let the Right One In, which is amazing. Which I have a poster of on my wall right there, which is amazing.
Dude, I saw. Oh, dude, I just remembered. I saw that movie in the theater in Calgary that doesn't even exist anymore. It was like the oldest theater that had those things up top that you could sit in because it was like an actual theater.
Like where the
theater.
old people where the old Muppets sat in, like the box.
It doesn't
the box
exist anymore.
the boxes
but
or whatever.
I saw it there, man.
Yeah.
I've been going through like my old files and like trying to back up stuff, and I found like I don't know if you saw that stupid video that I posted of like me and that skit thing.
That's what I was. I told you I was having problems with it on Twitter earlier. Josh doesn't listen to me, guys. Now I know how now I know how my wife feels when she talks to me. He just doesn't listen to me.
I have you turned really down so it doesn't flip out because it's like I don't know, it's coming in weird.
Yeah.
So I can hear you, but kind of.
I'm just giving you shit, Josh, as I always do. No, this movie, with our wanting to focus on things of foreign and independent, like on this podcast, this is one of those movies that I saw. I haven't seen this movie in probably a decade at this point, but it is one of those movies that I think is a very like. It's a flagship for like Korean horror specifically.
Fucking good, man.
Yeah.
Like it's so messed up, the story.
Yeah.
But the visuals tell it so well, all practically.
Yeah.
And there's a whole bunch of like really expensive, over the top looking like visuals as well.
Yeah.
Like, but it's all meshed in and like super like I said, like Twilight package. But then very gruesome as well as it's got everything you want in a Korean film.
Yeah.
Like that I come to want in a Korean film.
So it's funny because after talking to you and it's like and doing this show with like I've kind of started looking at some of these movies like in a little bit not in a different light, but like kind of analyzing things, and the like first half an hour, 45 minutes of this movie, maybe hour of it, is very it's very culturally different than like an American movie.
But it's so character driven.
Yeah.
And that's what makes this movie so freaking good, because the character arcs of every character are so drastic. Yeah. And so like from A to B or whatever it is in these movies, it's insane. And that's what I'm saying. Like it feels like a whole relationship, but it's so, I don't know, like it's so messed up that it really grabs your attention and you really want to know what the fuck is going to happen next, because you're like, holy crap. Like, a lot. It
gets started, man. It when we actually get into spoiling it in a little while here, I have a couple of questions for you that I'm after watching this for whatever number of times I've seen it now, I'm still not 100% sure if I'm like right on why something happens at the beginning of the movie, but the movie is it's actually it seems like a super like believable version of what a vampire tale should be in like this modern world.
Yeah, I like that they didn't have teeth
fangs
come down. that it was just an actual thirst, and the way they had to do it was brutal.
Yeah.
And like the way he he was methodical about it,
Yeah.
and like he had to preserve and knew that it wasn't going to be an easy task, and
Yeah.
it was brought down and felt super realistic.
Yeah.
And like they really took the source material really, really seriously the
Yep.
entire way through. And
Yep.
and the tone, like, so when weird and almost like funny
Yeah.
things happen, it's not, well, no, there's overtly funny things in this movie, but like on purpose, and it's played off of like weird images that could look funny but are done super well. I don't know. It's so fucking well done.
Yeah.
I'm so happy that
Dude,
I finally got to see this movie. I've heard so many people, but like to see it, man, like just it's
so you're gonna like Chan-Woo Park literally has, I think, one of the most beautiful scenes shot in the entirety of all cinema, and it's one of the most original cool scenes. There's a scene in Oldboy where he's fighting a bunch of dudes in a hallway with a hammer, and the way it's shot is perfect. In Daredevil, Daredevil on Netflix kind of did something similar, but it reminds me of like if you took like Final Fight or like the old school 16-bit side scrolling video games where you're going across the screen and fighting people. It's a lot like that. That's what it reminds me of. And the guy's just eye for cinema is fucking perfect. And I
can see it because the storytelling, visually, as well as like you hate characters that you're supposed to hate. Like it's such a good film.
Yeah.
I really, really like, and you feel almost weird saying that you fucking love and adore a movie like this because it's so messed up the entire time, but it's so good.
Well, dude,
it's so good.
It's violent, but like it actually kind of saves the real brutality for a couple of like really specific scenes and really like kind of specific characters. And like you starting to say like it's when the violence happens, it's very, very like there's reasons behind all of it, right? And like it's not for most of the time, right? It's you have these reasons why these things are happening and why these scenes of violence are happening and why these characters are doing what they're doing. And it's just like, man, it's not. See, vampire movies often are just like they turn vampires into like conniving, either just like complete killing machines, like something like 30 Days a Night, right? Where they're just they're like zombies almost at that point.
Yeah. Well,
or
those movies they're very specific. Those movies are directed by people that make like Alien versus Predator. It's like it's a very subgenre of vampire movie. It's a vampire action movie. It's not like a vampire movie. Like there's I don't know, man, because like Resident Evil, that's like a vampire. It's a franchise. I don't know, man, because like that's a video.
There's
game.
no vampires in Resident Evil, but yeah, it's the same kind of thing.
Like that's the big. That's the Call of Duty of. Well, that's a.
You think of like Blade, right? Blade and Blade 2, and that is stuff that's very like it's very heavy on the action and and there are you have characters that are like vampires that you're rooting for. I mean, the Daywalker, the Blade movies, but in this movie, you're like you're like rooting for the main character, but so much shit goes on that you go back and forth, and you're like. You see what's happening and what this guy is going through, and you go, oh man, this dude is like, you kind of waver a couple times in the movie, right? You waver in what you believe in with this main character who is the priest in the movie, or starts off as a priest. His name is Sang. What is it? His name is Sang-hoon. Sang-hoon, I think is his name. And he goes into, I mean, this isn't too big of a spoiler. It sets up the movie. He goes in to do this. We could talk about this. I was going to ask him. He goes in to do this, this experiment where there's some disease in Africa. I think it's in a village that's like, it seems like it's like in the middle of nowhere or something. Like it's shot like it's in Africa because it's like all bright and dusty and like sandy kind of looking. Like they don't really show you much of it, but it's like this compound where this village is getting struck by this disease that makes you like bleed out like through like the eyes and vomiting blood and all this stuff. And it's like, damn, this shit is brutal. And it ends up like they give him blood, and they say failed experiment. And the thing, it's not really a failed experiment. It really more seems like the experiment's not what gave him vampirism. There was vampires' blood. I don't know how they got vampire blood, and I don't
no explanation.
Yeah,
and that is what the whole movie hinges on. It's just a freak accident, I guess, because it wasn't explained. They didn't show the source other than that they gave it, and that's a big kind of hole in the movie. But like, they just kind of make you believe that like it's the priest is doing this good act to try to help people. I don't know why he goes to volunteer it. Back up a lot in the movie.
Yeah,
he's like, I was doing it for a good reason. I thought I was gonna be a good person, and now I'm not. Like that was his whole like character struggle. Was like he was holding on to the fact that he's this priest, he's this good person. Yeah, he's doing all these horrible, terrible things. Yeah, and then
it's this whole thing, and I would like to really actually talk to Chan Wook Park and like talk to him about it, because it's like it seems like it's this whole movie is very like it's showing like the struggles of like the human nature, right? Of like what it means to be human, what it means to have like what urges and what like desires is an average person holding back, like behind their levels of what it is being a human, right? Like what does society force us to hold back? What does society stop us from doing that we would do if that we could get away with it, right?
Have you ever seen Daybreakers? That was a cool, weirder take on a vampire movie where it was like it's
Ethan Hawke, right?
It's been happening for like a long time, and like it's been like I don't know, like government like this made it. I don't know. It was weird, but those were like creepy, almost like cave-like vampires. Like they came from the Coven or something. And
that's it. It's things like the Dead and Santa Carla.
Vampire is your favorite type of vampire?
I think it's like this movie. It's Let the Right One In. It's the like
it's just like it's such a real take. It's this is like refreshing, man.
It's like the one thing that like is completely insane in these movies is the sunlight thing, like actually making someone dust. Like I could see it like burning them to death, but like that's the thing that is like completely over the top with all these takes. Like because Let the Right One In has that same like the sunlight. That the hospital scene and Let the Right One In with the cat and everything like that is just still one of the most like, dude, that shit's hardcore scenes ever. But no, that is it yours? Like is yours the same, Josh? Like the kind of like more grounded in reality kind of vampire?
Yeah, but I don't know, man. Like for a vampire, like I always like movies that ground it more in reality. Like I like that they had the ability to jump, and it was like introduced to us like kind of like a little trick, and it was like ooh, and it like he was painting with every little trope, like vampire trope. He only gave you little hints throughout the movie, the director, and he understands what he's trying to do, and it ends up being a piece of art at the end, and that's why.
Well, dude, and the whole like he's got this like violin playing throughout the whole movie that is just beautiful, and it's
it tells you what you're supposed to feel in a lot of scenes too, and it emphasizes like and makes things a lot. Like oh my,
it's very sour. It's very sorrowful. It's like sad music because like the whole situation is like it's a very
overly dramatic movie.
Yeah,
but but they are it's such unique circumstances, and it is
Thirst on IMDb, if you look at it, it has 3 tags on it, and horror's number 3. It comes off as drama fantasy first, and that's
100%.
Yeah, because
it's like a Twilight. It's whimsical and like dream sequency and like very over sexy.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
It's like a porno at some parts.
Dude, the last scene of this movie is still like, my wife walked in and was like, what the fuck? Because like the last scene it's weird because it's sad, but it also has a lot of comedy in it. And she's like, what the fuck is happening? It's just like,
but if you understand the whole character development between the two characters, that whole end scene is so perfect. And sad. Yeah. Oh, it's completely sad. So I think that kind of wraps up like what we want to talk. I mean, is there anything else you want to talk about before we super spoil it? Because I mean, this movie is, me and I are both going to say, go watch this movie because it's fucking awesome. But like, is there anything else you want to talk about before we spoil? When did this movie come out? If you haven't already
2009.
seen it, see it. It came out in 2009. That's when that clip that I just... seriously, that's fucking weird, man. I didn't do that on purpose.
Yeah. Well, it's the thing I want to do with this podcast. I think a lot of people are afraid of foreign film, right? They're afraid of subtitles. They're afraid of all that stuff. And this movie's
an easy read, man, but it's also like you want to keep going because of just how crazy some of the characters are. Like her, what is that character? Like it's forced upon her to be her kind of husband-ish.
Yeah,
that's brother as well, but it's also like it's a whole bunch of things. She's like their dog / daughter / so she's not treated well.
That's what reminds me of it reminded me of Parasite, because
I was gonna say
Korea has that thing where the class system's like super prevalent, and the lower class people are treated like garbage, right? So I think that's what it is, and I think that's a big point in the whole movie is like how these people are treated, and her specifically, right? Yeah. So yeah, go see this movie. It's fucking awesome. If you have, again, don't be afraid of it. It's a little over 2 hours long. It's like 2 hours and 23 minutes.
Such an easy watch, though.
Yeah. You don't notice. Watch. Yeah, you don't notice the time at all. It's not like
it flows so well. This is the shortest long movie I've watched in a long time. It didn't feel like the length it was.
If you guys, we've talked about it. We really, really, really enjoy the 80 to 90 minute like sweet spot with horror movies, but this movie is just it's got
horror, it's not overly a horror movie. There's it definitely quenches your thirst by the like 3/4 mark for your like horror thing. That's why it's in the 3rd place for drama fantasy, because it spends the time making you understand and love the characters for what they're doing and where they're going. And it's a ride, and it's a good ride. And movies don't do that enough, man. Especially studio movies. They don't spend enough time on the story and character. They only care about the blips and the trailer fucking what's gonna okay, we'll spend another $21 million on this one shot because it's going in the trailer. Okay, sounds good. Like what?
I mean,
come on.
It's what do you call them? It's we live in a world where, what do you call them, from Justice League gets to make movies like Zack Snyder, who can't tell stories worth to save his own life, but he can make pretty slow motion things.
Dude, let's see what he can do with his new cut. And he's like,
it's gonna be terrible.
No, man, I'm not gonna put that stamp on it, man. Like he
I'll watch.
Really traumatic experience in his life. He could have a new lease and
I'll watch it.
And maybe if he stepped away, man. Like a lot can happen when you step away. I have faith, man, because I saw the abomination that was Batman v Superman, and just like come on, like I need to see his cut, just and have hope, man, because like I can't put all my fucking eggs in Marvel's basket, man. Like there's too much coming, and I don't want to watch it all. There's too fucking much, man. Like fuck off.
I have horror. I've been enjoying WandaVision as a side
No.
note, so,
You know what? I that's on my docket to watch. I'm not saying I don't love Marvel movies, man, because I do.
Yeah.
It's just like, holy crap, that's a lot.
Yep.
You
Okay.
overwhelmed me.
Yep. So, which is funny because we've had a year off too. So, okay. So this movie starts off, and we have our main character who's a priest, and just like this little church it seems like it's not surrounded by much, but and it's just him and this old blind priest is his pastor or whatever,
and his fucking beating stick.
Yeah. Oh God, dude. This mother. So basically, this guy gets a fucking hard on, and so he starts smacking the shit out of the inside of his thigh, and you see at some point. I
call it his beating stick.
It's beating his meat, man. But Jesus Christ, I was wondering at one point when I rewatched this movie, I'm like, is he hitting his own cock? Because
that's
holy
what I thought
fuck,
too.
Yeah.
But then they showed the bruises on the inside of his thighs. So.
Yep.
But the aim, I don't know, man. That first one didn't sound like a leg.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. And you find out this. Yeah, you're just like hit a solid sack of meat, man. Jesus Christ. And you find out this dude he's a orphan, and basically I don't think they ever explained what happened to his parents, but he was an orphan raised in this church, and like it ends up being a thing
like
that
Ghost Dad at one point in this movie.
Yeah,
Ghost Dad. Did you ever see that movie?
No.
Ghost Dad.
Oh.
I saw that when I was a kid.
I don't know Ghost Dad. No.
Ghost Dad has
I know Ghost with Patrick Swayze, but not that. No. And Whoopi Goldberg.
It is what's his name? Bill Cosby.
Oh, okay. Oh God. I don't want to know about that. Don't trust the pudding pops, everyone. Don't trust the pudding pops. No.
Ghost Dad.
And so you figure out like this guy is just like, he's like the perfect priest. He's like, does anything for the community, and he runs around and helps people die. That's like kind of what it seems like he does mostly. He gives out like the last rites for people that are dying. And for some reason,
man, when you get good at something.
Yeah. Fuck that though, man. And for some reason we were talking about before, he goes to this remote village that has this problem with this disease, which is also weird about it, is that they kind of point out that it only kills men, and it kills all Asians, and like, what do they say? Like, it kills like Asians and blacks or something like that. They said it was like very, very. That's why I thought it might have been in Africa, because like again, they don't say where it was, but
it was just COVID before COVID.
But yeah, it was way worse than COVID, but it was pretty fucked up. But yeah. And so for some reason he goes to help him with this, and like it seems like he volunteers to get infected.
See that whole beginning scene. That's what I'm saying. Like,
yeah.
I knew this was going to be the question you were going to ask, because I was like,
yeah.
Did I miss something too?
Yeah.
Like, and you were like, I thought I missed something, and it feels that way very heavily at the beginning. And that's what I'm saying. The whole movie hinges on this part, and they kind of just brush over it. Accept it. This guy just got needles. He was here for a bit. Then you saw him bleeding, and now he's out and looks like Ghost Dad.
Yep.
In a priest costume.
I wonder though, at the run time
of
2 hours and 14 minutes or whatever it is. I thought it was like 2 hours and 30, but maybe we had a different cut of it. But like
2 hours and 14 minutes.
Yeah, I wonder if they cut off, like they cut the stuff for just like time, reasons, like just to keep the movie shorter. I don't know. I'm curious if there was like more explanation into like why he was there and what stuff, because it's very brisk at the beginning. But so he's there and he does this experiment, and the experiment ends up giving him like the disease that they were trying to fight is like this makes you have these boils on your skin, and you end up like bursting blood vessels everywhere.
One scene. You got to see a dermatologist, man.
Yeah. That's what the other. Yeah. I forget who says that to him, but yeah, it's
like the cop when he's getting questioned.
Yeah.
You got to go see a fucking dermatologist, dude.
Yeah. And so like he looks like he's fine for a while, but then he gets sick, and then they're trying to treat him, and he dies. But then they like cover him up with a sheet or something, right? And then he sits up. and he's back and he's alive, and they're like, oh my God, he's a miracle. And he's like, the thing that keeps being said is that he was 1 in 500, right? Like they gave this treatment to 500 men, and he was the only one who survives.
The thing, okay, the drunk mother though, like, is she just? I guess she was always drunk. But I was gonna ask, like, when she comes up, how do you not fucking recognize the kid that has come over to your house like a whole bunch of time for noodles when he was a kid? Like, does he look that different? Like, I
don't know, man. I don't know how different. Like
in the house for so long, and then they all like, oh yeah, it's like what?
So it's I don't know, man. She's the one character that is very like she's actually probably the most hateable character in the entire movie, because like you kind of
but then she gets it good, and you're just like, okay, well, whatever, because then you're just like, you can't really hate her anymore because she's like really fucked up.
that whole after what happens to her, so she ends up like pretty late on. This is a character we're gonna talk about in a second, but she ends up having a stroke, I think is what happens, and she's sitting there, and like they're standing around her bed, and they're like, remember not to eat salty fried foods because this is what will happen. And like, oh my God, it's the humor that hits in this movie at times is just fucking awesome. And I was laughing. So this dude comes back. Comes back.
Things they choose to highlight.
Yeah.
In like a budding relationship, and then like a middle of the road relationship, and then towards the end of a relationship. That's what I'm saying. It perfectly depicts like a full relationship. Yeah.
Well,
and
especially
the things they choose to pick out and emphasize, like those little isms and stuff, are so perfect. Sometimes they are picked out to be a comedic value, and sometimes they're to like bring up the drama, and sometimes to like bring up how real things are and how horrific being in a relationship. But then they turn the eye and stuff. Like it was a perfect all the choices.
So I think it's like a lot of it, like I talked about it being like, what does society, or what is holding us back from doing these primal urges we have in us? But another thing that's kind of a theme in the movie is what are we hiding from people when we first meet them, especially in relationships, right? It's like, what are we hide? What is the person we're showing them, like we're allowing them to see, compared to the fucked up that's actually there, and what's behind it, and what is really driving you, and how long can you prevent that from them seeing the fucked up shit that's inside of you, right? Because
it reminds me of a line from, I just rewatched Office Christmas Party over the Christmas part. Yeah. And there's like a scene where this guy's like really fucked up and like goes up to that what's her name? She's still on SNL. Super, I don't know.
Oh,
but she's like, oh, you freak. Keep that shit to like the third date, like, because he's like acting like a baby. Oh, what the fuck? No, that wasn't the movie. What movie am I thinking about? I don't know. But he starts acting like a baby. Well, I think it actually is that movie. He starts acting like a baby or something.
Kate McKinnon is in that movie.
Yeah, no, not.
Yeah.
Oh, there's a whole bunch of people from SNL in that movie. But she's like, keep it to, you fucking freak.
Yeah. Well, what I really like, though, and I'm really kind of curious, this is one of the other strange things.
So is it the third date? Is that this?
Maybe, man. Maybe. Like, so the guy, the priest goes back to his parish, and like he's being, like he's got like cult members, which is a crazy thing. There's all these people that are like, oh my God, like you need to heal me. Yeah, camped out. He's like a prophet kind of thing. He's like a kind of like, this guy would have, I really, really like this character because he knew what was happening, because he tries to avoid it, and he does something later on in the movie to try to actually shit on it, because he doesn't want these people worshiping him. He doesn't want to be like,
before he goes out. Yeah.
And
I like that. That's a redemption. Like it's a terrible thing that he has to do, but
he knows he's already fucked up a lot. Yeah.
And him as a character, that choice had to be made. So they all could go on with their lives, and because he is totally not what they think, and he doesn't want to paint that picture for them anymore. Perfect. That's what I'm saying. All the choices for the story are so perfect. Like So he ends up like, he's running around doing what he was doing before, but he's also getting like
people are coming in like, help me, and like, so he ends up being at this like, he's at like a children's hospital, you know, playing games with kids, and this woman comes through the window. She's like banging on the window and comes through, and she's like, my son has cancer. And so he ends up going with this lady to his her son's room and praying for him. And then she realizes when they're there that the priest was this kid that used to come over for noodles, like, you know, 30 years ago or, you know, 25 years ago, something insane. That's why they don't recognize him, I'm assuming, because it's like he was a real little kid, it seemed like. In this, it couldn't have been.
He recognized, and all he does is have a little like smirky smile, like, so they all were just fucking idiots. And that's like a weird thing.
Well, that, and they're also all stressed out because the guy has cancer. He's like got like throat cancer or something like that. They said, I think, later on. And he prays for him, and then this, I don't quite, again, there's another little thing. It's not a big deal, but it's like, it's a thing where you're like, oh, you don't really quite understand, but like, and again, this might be a cultural thing too. Like, so the guy ends up being proved like he doesn't have cancer anymore, and all of a sudden the priest is living with him, like all of a sudden, like, or over there all the time, like he's like,
yeah, there was a big jump, in like just their like comfort level with him, being there, like there wasn't enough, like, yes, you know him, but like, I don't know, there wasn't enough for me to like be like, what? And then he's out on his ass, and she's like, you can live here. And it's like, have you seen how he looks at your daughter?
Yeah. Well, it's not as, so like, so the son that had cancer is married to this woman, and it's this weird relationship. We were talking about it before. Like, so this girl like got abandoned by her parents at like 3 years old, they said, and they just raised her like a daughter. But then she had the drunken mother has a line where it's like, oh, it was easy because we just moved her out of my bed into his. So basically they kind of, it seems like they forced her to be with this dude. And this dude is just like, he seems like an idiot, right? He like kind of seems like a nice dude, but like he's like a
wipe
giant.
Your fucking nose.
Yeah. Oh, dude, So there's the scene later on that my wife was like, but
my wife was like just in the other room, but could hear it like very clearly, and was just like, that fucking chick's moan is so fucking annoying, because like for half the movie she's just like having sex, so you just hear like my wife's just like, fuck, that's so annoying.
Well, you figure out that this girl is actually the most twisted character in the whole movie. Like, she's worse than the like,
but that's what I love, because he created a monster, and then he created an actual like he created himself into, you know, and then the monster he creates after is way worse and cannot be contained.
Well, so he's like, it's funny because he's like transitioning, like he's coming back, and like he's this miracle because he, like, you know, whatever, he came back from this disease, and he's got like, but all of a sudden he starts getting the warts or the like boils all over his skin again. Man. Yeah. And so then he's running around like the Invisible Man, where his whole face is wrapped up, and it's one of the better scenes in the movie where like, or one of the scenes I like a lot in the movie is like, he's going to give last rites to this woman who was in an accident. They don't really specify like what it was, and she's like all cut up, and she's sitting there, and he's standing next to her while she's dying, and you could see like these bandages around her neck, and you just see blood like pumping out, and you know they got like the tubing in there, but it looks like there's like a neck wound where done. And you're just like, it is so creepy, and you're like, and this guy is like, you can see him, he's like, oh shit. And this is like the first time you figure out that he
the visuals
really
make you feel like you're in the mind of the character. Like they like, you're like, like you feel like you understand exactly what that at that moment in time. It was so perfect. He like is marking her head, and like just like he gets a little drop of blood on his finger, and he like licks it real quick, and he's like, really fast. Like, was
and
so
you're like,
good.
And you're like, well, there was like a lady behind him, and this guy does not give a fuck. He's just like, nope, I need this blood. And this is like, this is how like this guy is such a that's like the first time you see these urges start popping through that this guy can't control. And this guy was perfect. Like he was like literally a perfect citizen before any of this happened. And but then this is his solution. I love it. So there's this fat guy who you meet earlier in the movie this guy is huge with the worst hairline I've ever seen in any movie at any time. And he's sitting there telling a story about how he was like a long time ago, he had some food and he was going to go eat it. But then he saw some homeless kids or something hungry, and he was like, he turned around to eat the food, and then he gave it to him instead. And he's like, I mean, he didn't say it, but he's like basically implying, look at me, and I gave them the food. Come on, man, look at me. Mm-hmm. And then the guy has like a some kind of attack.
He wants praise instead.
Yeah.
You know? He didn't.
Oh no, he doesn't want praise. He wants salvation. He wants to think that he did something. He did anything enough that when he dies, he's going to heaven. That's what he's like. He's just like, it's kind of like, do you ever see that episode of South Park where they're doing where Cartman and Kyle's cousin are like doing his naughty and nice list, or basically the naughty and nice accounting, and how Cartman's trying to make all the, like, Cartman's like, he's like way ahead in naughty for the year. And he goes, what about brushing my teeth? And he goes, that's not naughty or nice. That's brushing your teeth. It's like, he's trying to like find any grasp for anything so he could be on the nice list instead of the naughty list. Yeah. And that's kind of what it feels like. This guy might've been a piece of shit, but you don't really know. So like he has this attack and the priest gives him CPR, but like you find out the priest goes into his room then, and he's like, he's got some IV or something, and he just pulls the IV off and just like drains the fat dude's blood and gets like a little drain out, right? Where he's like, the guy is his like, he's like his vending machine. He comes by and he gets a couple candy bars out of the vending machine, and then he goes, okay, we're good. So he fit like, and when he drinks the blood, his boils or whatever go away. So he kind of figures out that like he gets blood, makes it go away, but it doesn't last very long, right? And he goes to his old blind priest mentor, and he's like, hey dude, I'm kind of like, there's something fucked up here. And I hate this motherfucker, man. Like he's trying
the guy that gives him blood when he wants?
No, I'm talking about the priest, the old priest that is like the blind dude, and how he's like, because not yet, but like later on, he pisses me. Yeah.
Wants to be
yeah. So he's like, dude, he's explaining to him how hard it is to like deal with these urges, and how it's so impossible for him. And he goes, and the guy is like, well, I mean, whatever. And at this point, this is when he leaves the church. He goes, I can't be a priest anymore, right? And is that when he ends up actually living with them, like with the family that he saved the guy, right? It's like
yeah. So and then when he goes back for a visit, that's when the guy's like, come on,
yeah. Well, then I think because then he had way more context into what was like. You see at some point where someone else gets turned and she like her feet like heal, right? Mm-hmm. So then, like, the middle of the movie is like really the love story, right? It's kind of like this. It's this like the first act is like the intro and like what happens, and you're introduced to this character, and then the second,
and they meet each other, and then it's all like, I love that shot though. Like the first time they're like sneaking around, in the shop having sex, and then the shot of the mom like breaking up the love thing, and it like zooms out to it's so I love those type of shots though. Like you don't see them very often, and when they're used so perfectly to show where she is in geography to where they are, like it shows it perfect, because I didn't know where they were. I didn't realize until right then that the shop was downstairs to the house, and like it showed it in a really fun way and comedic way to break the it was the net nanny, like I was to you when you were watching this. Yeah. So he moves in with his people, and then it's the one they proved the guy had cancer, and they like he rescued him because he's a saint or something like that. And so he goes and he's living with them, and then the daughter starts like
throwing her pussy at him, and he's like, oh no, and, like he's trying to like resist at first, but ends up being like
she's persistent.
Yeah, she is persistent as fuck, and he ends up kind of succumbing to her, and it's like she's like, sure, yeah,
open your legs. She's
Open
like your freaking legs.
She's like pulling his tits out, and then they get interrupted the first time. Is what you're talking about. Like they're downstairs in this dress shop, like that they own, like below their house, and she ends up getting.
She was struggling to open his legs. He was like,
no, dude, that was God holding his legs closed.
But I love that though.
Yeah.
Like it showed again the like arc of his character being like super virgin, scared, frigid to like fucking 5 times the next day to like then they're like over it and you know he got it out of his system. He's like, all right, I can die now.
He's just he's like, I died not a virgin, so I'm good. So it's all this happens, and then they're fucking, and then she starts convincing him that he the husband. Oh no, she doesn't convince him until when does she convince him? After she figures out he's a vampire, right? Like because they go to the hospital, and she is what they're fucking in the hospital. Then they actually have sex in the hospital, and while he's going in and taking
the hospital is the whole scene. Right, that's the one where there's like like the full on like 5 minutes.
Yeah, so he wasn't living.
Like, I was like, oh, okay, this is a nice build-up. They're gonna cut away now, and then it gets awkwardly long because like the build-up is nice and like sensual and like the teasing and blah blah blah, and then it's a little weird because they lick a lot and stuff. But then like it gets to a point where you're like, oh shit, we're just gonna awkwardly sit here and watch the entire fucking thing. My wife, finish up, bud. Like here's
my wife. My wife was sitting there at that point, and he literally licks her armpit.
Yeah.
And my wife's like, why the fuck did he just do that? And I'm just like, I don't fucking know. It's a horny, like,
it's like a primal thing. They're being very primal. Like,
well, dude, there's a cultural thing too, right? Like the whole like Japan, you have like pubic hair that's like a big no-no, right? And I wonder how, like, that's why I say I like watching this kind of stuff and going, I wonder how much of this is just completely cultural, like where it's like, oh man, like. You have like 18-year-olds who are fucking all the time, and they're like, "Oh yeah, did you lick her armpit?" Yeah, I did. I fucking licked the shit out of her armpits. Yeah. Her armpits tasted like Dove. It was so good. No,
but again, we're in North America. Where like it's suppressed like crazy.
Oh yeah.
Any kind of media like coverage of anything. So like it's taboo as fuck. Anything like this would not get to theaters or like it is you know, like that's it. It's really stupid because this movie is amazing and it should have a place in like more people on this side of the ocean should see it as well. If you haven't, like, holy crap, I'm just, you know, if I didn't have this show I wouldn't have seen it either. And you know what, unlike this one, like next week is a movie that I 100% would see anyways. And I'm so excited, man. Like, I have it to watch Psycho Gorman. It's from the same guys that did The Void, and like that movie was one of those movies that I went to the top of hilltops, and like I showed it to so many people, and so many people just don't fucking get it. They're like, I don't understand fucking indie horror shit, man. Like that didn't make no fucking sense to me. I'm like, what? The Void is the best. It's like the best universe I've ever seen, man. I need more fucking monster universes, man. And they're giving us one, and the poster has this huge PG, and then it's an R-rated movie. I love it. Like fucking bring it on, man.
Well, you know that PG is Psycho Gorman. That's what that is.
I know, but it's funny. It's just funny. Because it looks like it could be almost like a kid's movie. But then, again, it's totally not.
But so it's funny because they fuck in the hospital. No, you're fine, dude. It's what we're here to do. They fuck in the hospital, and then like, since he got his nut off, he goes, okay, I gotta show you something now. And he pulls out she runs away. They don't show what's happening. And then they cut back to him, which is just, it's genius. Cause you're kind of like, what did he do? And he's lying under the fat dude's bed, like with the blood in his mouth. And he's just sitting there sucking on the blood. Like it's like a Gatorade or some shit. And that I think this is when he actually quits, right? Like this is what like drives him to quitting, and that's when he gets it living on. I don't know. The series of events is like I don't know. You get a 2 hour.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
it's full on. It
Yeah.
honestly doesn't matter because then
Yeah.
it goes
Yeah.
into.
Yeah.
As soon as she finds out he's a vampire, she's scared and runs away, but then realizes that's pretty fucking cool.
Well,
hey, you want to fuck and then like make me a vampire or something? You know, that could be kind of weird. And then you could like lick my armpit and we could be like weird kinky vampires together. Twilight, come on! So
but then
that's what went through her head, and then
yeah.
But then once that does happen, you start to realize that oh shit, like we're kind of stuck now because like we can't live during the day and we can only go out at night, and like you know she starts to realize all these weird things that she didn't kind of look into. Comes along all the bad shit that kind of comes along.
I think that the thing happens as soon as she figured that out, and after she got over the terrified a bit, she goes, this woman figured out she could use the whole situation because they tell you later on that the mom was leaving the dress shop to her. And so she's like, oh, I could use this to like get everything I want now instead of waiting for it and not have this family around. So basically she convinces the priest that the dude is beating her. And you find out.
With her leg. But why the fuck was she doing that to like?
Dude, because she was crazy. I think that's what it was all along. Yes.
Oh.
Yeah, so she basically, this woman was so manipulative of him and his inability to like fight his urges, and uses him and convinces him that he was murdering her or beating her, that they go fishing and he drowns this dude. He drowns the husband, the drunk mother's, the one who had cancer, in the middle of this lake that they weren't supposed to be in the middle of the night. They play mahjong like once a week. It's like a weekly poker game, but like these people play mahjong with each other once a week. And one of the guys owns it or is in charge of this reservoir that you could fish, but you're not allowed to.
Oh, she did the Gone Girl thing.
yeah, basically. And she the guy, because he's so mad and this rage gets him, and this guy would never have done this before, but he can't control his rage anymore because he's in I think he's getting in love with, or he thinks he is. It's that young thing, but this guy's in his mid-30s or whatever, and they take him there and they basically go, okay, you're gonna have to kill him now, and they're like, you better hurry up because you're gonna have to answer questions with the police and shit like that, so you want to be out before dawn. And so he jumps to the lake with this dude and like pulls him down and ends up drowning him. And so they get out of the situation. The cops interview him, but they're like, oh yeah, and they're very suspicious because they're these two couples, like they look like they got rid of this dude, which they did. And so then they sit there and they're like, okay, when he turns her into he ends up killing her at this point, later, a little while on, right? Because why does he lose his shit with her? He loses his shit with her for some reason and chokes her out and kills her. Because
she takes an Uber home and then kills the fucking Uber driver, and then he's like,
"Oh no,
but smell that you took a fucking
that's later on.
I'm home and then ate it.
I'm talking about
to do that without me.
That's later. Why does he turn her? Why does he kill her though? It's because was she saying she's tired of fucking him and all this stuff, and then so he strangles her, and then he snaps her neck, but then he puts his blood in her mouth and she comes back.
Yeah.
And so at that point it is
he said happy birthday too, because she didn't ever have a birthday, didn't know when her birthday was.
Yeah.
So
then that was
crazy.
Her birthday was
happy birthday.
Because that was the day she became a vampire. It was her birthday, yeah.
That was that was a very whoa scene, because it's messed up, man. If that's a cult, to treat people like that bad is just crazy to me.
Yeah. Well, it's the whole thing where it's this guy was almost literally a saint. Like he was doing anything for people and put everyone before himself. And now he can't control his sexual urges. He can't control his urges for violence. And like he goes back to the priest, like his mentor, who's blind at some point after, like he knows what's happening. And the guy's like, "You want to make me a vampire?" Because he thinks that if he's a vampire, he's in a wheelchair and he's blind. He says he wants to see the sunset again or the sunrise again, right?
Yeah.
And he ends up stabbing this dude, and it's like, I don't know why, because he needs to feed, but like this guy was a mentor to him, took care of him, and like told him he wanted to be like, he was kind of scummy at the end, but like, man, like why did you actually kill this guy? Like it's that urge for violence, because this guy, I think he's so disgusted with himself and what he's doing that it drove him to killing the priest. And it was like the real act of violence, right? Like it's the whole what's happening, right? And so they sit there, and no one ever figures out who killed this priest, right? But they sit there, and now he turns this girl into a vampire, and she cannot control. She doesn't want to control herself, right? You talked about it. They split up. Because after they murder,
can't be controlled.
Yeah,
she loves the feeling so much.
Yeah,
I love that line. She says, "Fucking safe blood" or something. Calls him a safe blood or something.
Yeah, because she's mocking him. Because you figure this is when you start figuring out, oh man, this woman really never was into this dude. She was using him to get what she wanted, or that's what it seems like. So there's two options. She was evil all along and had planned everything, or B, she went along with everything, and then like the urges,
after like the Joker faces into the camera are so creepy.
Well, dude, it's, you know what's so funny about this too? I noticed. Did you notice this? Like, so during the movie, the characters are both kind of like, they're like homely at first. Both, like, she's not homely, but she's like drawn out, like worn out and tired.
Yeah.
And he's
like the clothes are like all
and real pale.
Yeah,
and then
sure, the color choices and art direction in this movie are freaking beautiful, man.
And they both
they tell the story too, and like painting the room white.
Yeah,
like the whole thing.
Oh, dude.
Like I loved that just aesthetically for the movie, but like to show how they were pretty much insane too. Like it again, man. Like every choice just seemed like he just. It is a fucking masterpiece. This movie.
Yeah,
it's art. It is art in so many different ways.
Yeah, they figure out, like the mother-in-law like ends up figuring out what's happening and or she doesn't figure it out. She like, what happened? She has a stroke, and when she has a stroke, that's when they're like, remember not to eat fast food and like fried chicken, and it's just like, oh my god, yeah. And so then like everyone's gone. Like it was the son and the mother. I don't ever think they mentioned the father in this movie, and I wasn't sure at first when you first start watching it, but like all the people that come over to play mahjong, none of them are like the father or anything like that. So then it's just him and
who are they, by the way?
Yeah,
like,
they're just family friends. Just family friends, I think.
Then the one guy like fucking rapes her too. Like,
yeah,
who the fuck is that? And he brings his wife. Like that is a fucked up situation.
Oh yeah, so it's the one dude in the thing, like after her husband dies, rapes her, and it's just like, what the fuck?
But then you find out that she's because like that's like right as their relationship is going well, and then it's on the tail end of going well.
Yeah,
and she's so raw dogged and like out of it from the time change of being a or not even a vampire. She wasn't a vampire at that point. She was still a human, and like just trying to, you know, switch over to this new relationship and understanding what it came with. Yeah. And that's where she was like really fucking out of it. Yeah. And then the guy says, I can't believe you just did that 5 times. So like she's just used to doing it 5 times because of her
well, dude, it's the thing where she's completely like treated like property this whole movie, right? And then she has that power to fight back, and she's like, no, fuck this.
I am all powerful.
I think some of the weirdest scenes in this entire movie. So after they keep fucking after they murder the husband, dude, and then they keep seeing the husband coming back with his weird ass grin on his face.
That was
and
I loved all those
Yeah.
visuals
Yeah.
though. Like
Yeah.
they were so messed up, but
Yeah.
I love it's just an illusion. Okay. And then
Yeah.
he's just like there.
they're in between them while they're fucking. Yeah.
But as soon as he says that it's just an illusion, then
Yep.
they can ramp it up to 10 on all of it, and
Yep.
that's when the movie and like the editing style of it
Yeah.
becomes like, whoa, like where
Yeah.
are we and what's actually happening? Because like
It's
they're losing their minds, and
Yeah.
you're losing linear storytelling with it, and
Well, it-
goes so well, because then all of a sudden
Yeah.
there's like a weird guy there, and you're like, what the fuck? Then all of a sudden he's soaking wet, and then he's not.
Yeah.
So you're like, holy shit!
Yeah.
Like, what the? It's I love it.
it turns into The Telltale Heart by like Edgar Allan Poe, right? It's like the guilt getting these two because they're like her especially, but like it's that thing where you're just like, man, this is just it's showing how fucked up what guilt can do to someone, right?
Yeah.
And then they so they go back to this house and you talk about it. They paint the house white because she wants it to like remind her of the sun, right? And it just sets up for one of the blood
It's Gone
on
Girl's
white
birthday today, by the way. Weird.
It's whose birthday?
Rosamund Pike's birthday. Miss Gone Girl herself. It's her birthday
nice.
today. Weird.
Nice. And the mother comes back home after her stroke and is like basically a vegetable. But then the daughter
I loved her after that point though.
Yeah.
Like that
Yeah.
character got infinitely hilarious.
Yeah. Well, dude, she's
but then also like characters from like Breaking Bad and stuff like that.
Yeah. The stupid daughter is like feeding her some mush, right? And cuts her finger, and a single drop of vampire blood gets into her food, and it heals her enough that she's like is able to
move her finger.
Yeah, move her finger in her eyes and shit. Like it makes her brain like a little bit better. And then she watches as these two are like admitting that they killed her son and everything like that. They figure out everything because she's like they're ignoring her, and then they have their mahjong game again. And she tells all the people
beans.
Yeah, she tells all the people that what happened, and they
I
murder
love that
kill
whole thing because
Yeah.
like they all like look at them like, really, it's you?
Yeah.
And then it turns into a Clockwork Orange, just
Yeah.
like fucking massacre in
Yeah. Well, it's all her. He doesn't do any like he's
well,
like
he doesn't let them leave.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I like the little bait and switch that we get in that
Yeah.
whole like scene too,
Yeah.
like towards the end of it when
Yep.
you think everyone's gone and dead, and then there's like the actually, and it was
Yeah.
really cool and good, and it
Yeah.
showed that he that was the first step. Well, one
To
of
him
many
redeeming
first
himself,
steps
yeah.
to his
Yeah.
recovery and his like.
Yeah.
You know, bringing the character full circle back to, you know what, I can't be this terrible person. I have to hang it up.
Take myself out of the equation. But yeah, he they basically kill everyone and then chop off their feet and put blood in containers.
It's so good, man.
It's very let the right one in, right? Like it's that kind of like it's that like
visual
yeah.
though, like it's for a split second, but it's so perfect to
Yeah.
just paint the picture of just
brutality of it. Yeah.
It's so brutal.
Yeah.
It's so
Yeah.
brutal, man.
It reminds
that
me of
fucking neck break scene when she's just
Yeah.
like, "Shut the fuck up!" Boom. Like,
and she knocks her. Yeah, her head
That
goes
was
backwards, and you're like, "What the fuck?" The bathtub scene reminded me of like Scarface, right? You know, the guy's getting chainsawed in the
Yeah,
bathtub,
totally.
but it's the two corpses. There's no blood because they drained it all out on purpose.
Into
and-
Tupperware, man. You gotta
Yep.
be-
Well, and it's funny because so they're leaving and they go by the church where he used to go work, and this is where we were talking about before. He goes in and he basically rapes one of the women sitting at this camp.
Yep.
Because he didn't want to be known. He knew what was going to happen. He knew what he was planning, and he didn't want to be remembered as a martyr. He didn't want to be a prophet. He didn't want to be a god. He didn't want to be any of these things. And it's, one of the things in the Bible that I think this was very, very, it shows that his character was trying to get back to that original spot. He was fighting for everything he could to be back to that original spot. Was he didn't want to
knew
be.
he was going to hell.
Yeah.
So he
Well,
had to make sure that
Yeah.
they knew he should go to hell,
Yeah.
type thing, and
Yeah.
like that they shouldn't be worshiping him because he is going to hell.
Yep. And he basically gets caught on purpose that all these people that were worshiping him would know what he was doing and what was happening. Yeah. And so that they couldn't, like, they would stop worshiping him.
So for us as an audience, we know, okay, like another terrible act to almost, like, well, get the slate to somewhere not clean, but like at least you're going in the right direction.
Yep. Yeah, so they drive off and with the mother in the back seat, which is the comedy of all of this almost at this point. And
it's like what's that? The uncle that's dead and they keep bringing him around, that comedy.
Are you talking about Uncle Weekend at Bernie's? Is that what you're talking about?
Weekend at Bernie's.
Yeah. And they go to this. They drive off.
If you think about that movie not as a comedy, it's super fucking morbid.
Oh yeah. Well, it's even more morbid that they made two of them too, right?
Yeah,
they made two. Yeah. So they.
But that's the 80s, man.
Yeah. Yeah. Everyone's all coked up. Well, what if they had a dead body and they kept him around and they're just coked up as shit. Yeah. So they end up at this cliff and she's like, what are you doing? And he gets out of the car and throws the keys off the cliff. And you basically figure out he's gone there to die. Like he's going there to like let the sun take care of him because he can't let them
I love how they flip-flop between characters for you as the audience. Because like you're with him as the audience and then it flip-flops and then you're with her because she's sleeping, so then you don't know where you're going, so then it's just like close-ups of his face and driving and you don't know where he's taking us now because it's that. And then when she wakes up, then us as the audience is revealed that we're at the edge of a fucking cliff. There is nowhere to hide from the sun except for this car, and he's going to take away all options.
Dude, yeah, it turns into almost Looney Tunes with this woman's desperation of getting away. And she's fighting him. She's trying to get the keys. She's trying to get back into the car. And they're fighting each other. She's like, she breaks his arm and he's got like a bone sticking out of his arm at some point. And he's like, ah. And she gets in the trunk and then like, she pulls him in with the trunk. She shoves him in the trunk and like pulls him, goes in there with him, and he kicks the back thing off. And she's trying to hide under the trunk again, and he goes and throws the trunk off. And it's funny, but it's also sad because you know that this woman doesn't want to die, even though she already died. And then she goes under the car, and then he starts pushing the car towards the edge of the cliff, and she was hidden underneath the car, and they're sitting there. And they're like, he gets on the trunk and he's like just, you know, okay, this is it. This shit happened, going out now. And she finally goes up on the front of the car with him, and they kind of embrace a little bit, like a hug, and like they know what's happening. And the best part of that whole scene though is the mother is in the backseat of the car, just like, and you see these wide eyes, like, what the fuck? and they and it's actually it's fucking touching though, because like, there's a scene early on in the movie where when he's first at the house with them, she's like sleepwalking, or not sleepwalking. She's running away because these people are so shitty to her. Like just that, like she's property, right? Yeah. And she does it without shoes because she just wants to feel something. She wants to feel like her feet get fucked up. And
I love that. That was almost like Footloose or what? No, is that Footloose? The like iconic scene where he like picks her up, but like meets like Ghost meets something else.
Like even
in
like
a nightgown, and he gives
even
her
like
his shoes, and it's like a symbol of their relationship. Yeah, and then like at the end, it's you know, like it's a cool prop to like bookend their relationship with, and like that really cute. Like, because he just became this new character himself, so he was just flexing that new thing, and it swept her literally off her feet.
It's also very
she was
Cinderella
walking in somebody else's shoes, literally, because she turned into a vampire.
It's also Cinderella though too, right? It's the whole like it's the prince. It's like the prince that comes and saves her from the like these awful people that are like, you know, abusing her and stuff like that. It's a very Cinderella thing, and that's where a lot of the fantasy comes in. Besides
the way they shot that too, and like zoomed up and did ultra, like, just
Yeah.
the ultra close-ups on like props and stuff
Yeah.
are so beautiful in this movie.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah, because that's the last scene you're getting is he gives her the shoes back, or she puts the shoes on, whatever it is.
Yeah, she puts the shoes on right at the end and
Yeah.
accepts that she's gonna burn.
Yeah.
So then they like have a
Yeah.
moment.
And then you just
sad.
Yeah, you see him burn, and then they show the feet with just the shoes, and then like the ankles break, so the shoes just fall, and you're like, it's just sad. And then the mother's just the backseat going. It's like, oh my, it's. I don't know if enough. I don't think enough American movies are like, when you go drama with American movies, comedy does not hit them most of the time. It's like they're afraid to do that, and it's like. It can be like an awful moment that also has comedy in it, because it relieves a little bit of that like stress and that like that tension, and just goes like, this sucks. But
I think that's also a cultural thing too, because the tone of Korean movies I've found with this show and watching just the selection that we have, there's always like almost an undertone of this like unique Korean comedy. It reminds me almost what like Simon Pegg and like Edgar Wright like to do in all their movies. They have that undertone, that like cheeky factor to like all of it, and you just know that's where the like it will rest on, and like that's their resting point, is this like weird cheek, and like it's way more so with Simon Pegg and Edgar Wright, but like it's that same sort of like note that you can like go and so. But like Korean films have something, I don't know, but I love it.
I feel like dramas in this country, especially in America, are often just going for one thing, and that's Academy Awards, right? They're like trying to get, they're aiming for, that's like their goal.
I hate it. Like, I used to love it. Every year I would love the Oscars, and like I'm like a sucker for awards season and like all that stuff. But now I just like, it's so transparent. Like I see right the fuck through it. Like, and it's so heavy-handed in all the choices. Like, this person's going to be cast. This person's going to be writing it. Now it's going to be diverse as fuck. But like, it's all a chosen, like it's not a real, it's all just, I don't know. Like it's like checking the boxes.
It's assembly line. It's assembly line. Yeah,
it's very assembly line. And this is supposed to be a creative process for creatives. And like, if the team is a creative team, I gravitate towards creative teams. I don't care, indie, foreign, whatever you are. If you're a good team, I gravitate towards you. And like Parasite, before it won all the awards last year, every single person I knew that movie had to be watched, and they all watched it before it had the award season buzz. And they were all like, I was like, I fucking told you guys, like, this is like one of the best movies I've seen in years. Like, I was again yelling it from the rooftops. And if it's a good film, it doesn't matter, man.
Korean movies have always reminded me of like what Hollywood could be if they didn't worry about like Hollywood still does amazing things, right? A lot of the time. But I just think it's that non like pretentious bullshit of the, like, they just have that thing where it's like you could tell these people love film and they love telling a story in this visual format. And you kept talking about it. It's like Chan-Wook Park just tells a story so beautifully, in how he uses the camera and how he tells a story and how he scores it. It's just perfect. And he's just sitting there going, it's just like, you have this thing and you go,
just class too. You can tell that there's like an abundance of class and appreciation, and the fact that the character was a priest is a perfect like starting point to I don't know, like the last week I kept saying that the character was perfect to ground it in reality, but for this one and this story, I think it's perfect because it grounds it in like, I don't know,
fantasy.
Like, being a vampire, it's like mystical and fantasy. So like priest and God and all that stuff could be considered fantasy too if you're not into that stuff, right?
So. I'm thinking, and I just thought about this. I think that the thing you could kind of compare this to in American movies is The Shape of Water. The Shape of Water has that
Yes.
kind of thing where it's like fantasy and drama, and I really did like that movie, but I think Thirst is like does what it's doing better, and I think it's
wanting Oscars.
Yeah,
It did
and without
you know, like Guillermo del Toro is definitely an amazing director. He's made some very good films, and he knows what he's doing. But with that movie, I felt it a little bit that he was potentially trying to appease a little bit as well.
That fucking a fish thing always threw me off a little bit. We're gonna be honest, but here we are. Okay, man. Everybody, go watch this movie.
But then, like, next week we're doing a monster movie, and then there was a trailer for Godzilla versus Kong, the two biggest monster characters ever created, and the
very spoiled
itself.
Spoiled everything.
I was so spoon fed, like every single. It's just Hollywood all over it. Like I feel like everything that you wanted to see is going to be in it, and it's going to be the fucking shittiest movie ever,
dude.
I don't know.
So I both the King Kong movie was fine though. At Skull Island, it was fine. The actors were good. It was fine. I had fun with it, but I was like, this is just the first. I finally rewatched all of the Godzilla, the first one from 2014 the other day after that trailer came out, and I'm like, this movie is boring. It is boring. You have a monster movie that doesn't use its monsters. You kill Bryan Cranston when you don't need to. It was just trying to be like, we're dramatic, but you're like, you're not. You're a monster movie. You're trying.
Yeah, but the original Godzilla, the reason I liked it, I was following the director from Monsters. And that's me. I come from a world of a DIY for life.
Yeah.
I followed him before, and he was giving tips on how to create a movie. Like I follow these little creators and stuff online, and then they turn out to get these huge projects, and whoa, all of a sudden he's directing Star Wars and Godzilla, and I'm like, I was just following this guy's channel 10 years ago or whenever, and was like, holy crap, watching him do tutorials on After Effects on how he put the monsters in monsters and stuff himself, and I'm like, this is amazing. So like, I appreciated that movie from a fan of his work as a DIY guy first, and then like just an appreciation for the human, right? So but to see where it goes, and I understand it's a big, huge franchise. Hollywood is by the numbers, and these names, these logos are worth millions upon millions, so they got to do it, and it seems like a big spoon-fed of peas. But whatever, we're gonna see a good monster movie next week. Whatever. My daughter's crying her eyes out, so I gotta wrap.
Okay, yeah. I was just gonna say, we are guys. Go to murdermoose.com. That's where all our links are. We are Josh WRB on Twitter, and I'm Rod_Johnson on Twitter. Thanks for listening, guys. We love you all. Next week is PG Psycho Gorman, so check it out. We love you all. Thank you for listening. You guys rock. We'll see you next week. Wah!
Bye.